This is TWiT.
If you don't like Comcast, it turns out Verizon, well, they might help you out. It looks like they could sell you 5G-based home internet, which could have some real implications for companies trying to sell them services and their employees. Verizon is targeting cities dominated by cable, saying that, well, customers are demanding competition. Launch cities that Verizon has targeted include Houston, Indianapolis, Los Angeles, and Sacramento. It says that Verizon say that they're targeting cities where cable is today, just foundationally, because we definitely see the customer demand in those places, according to Chief Technology Architect Ed Chan. Now, Brian, I want to turn to you because you've often talked about wireless internet to the home. Do you think that this is going to be one of the real steps that takes us in that direction, or is this another one of those promising things that's going to be only in certain select markets?
I see 5G in kind of two ways. One, I think it's an excuse for Verizon to go and put more pressure on municipalities. You know, we talked in a previous show about how the FCC is making noise about forcing municipalities to give a certain number of pole attaches to internet service providers, especially wireless internet service providers. I think Verizon might be using this as a lever. But on the other hand, I happen to be working with a lot of wireless internet service providers, and that same FCC legislation is going to help us. And there's a lot of places, let's use my hometown of Honolulu as an example, where we have 2- and 3-story brick walk-ups. A lot of the larger companies like Spectrum and even Hawaiian Telephone have bypassed them with the high-speed internet. They'll still give you the low-speed DSL or the low-speed cable, but if you want to have gig services or heck, even the quote high-speed 300 meg services, those fiber services have bypassed a lot of the smaller apartment buildings. And I think the same thing goes in a lot of other major metropolitan areas where the large providers are trying to go and hit the big skyrises where they know they can make a lot of money. But the small guys, the small apartment buildings are suffering. And sadly, a lot of those small apartment buildings are also the underserved, the folks that, you know, maybe don't make six-digit incomes and they can't afford to move to a better area. You know, we can go on and on and on. Hey, it doesn't matter. But basically, 5G and other wireless internet service providers have some really interesting positive things. And that's, you know, getting to the underserved public. And if Mo was here, she would probably go off on a major rant saying, hey, I live just outside a fairly, she lives just outside a fairly major Texas city, but she's far enough out into the country that her only alternative is LTE. So, well, maybe 5G someday in the future. Don't know. Cross my fingers for you, Mo.
So my take on 5G is that it could actually replace wireline internet. So for the folks out there that haven't been following this technology development really closely, 5G actually promises to solve the biggest problem with wireless connectivity, which is latency. Really looking at LAN type latency, things that we're used to with only a cable provider. Now, the caveat I have, and don't get me for a Verizon fanboy here, the caveat I have is that if we let Verizon enter this market, we've got to put protections in place to make sure Verizon doesn't dominate this market for 5G. And push out any other providers by getting all the pole attaches and making sure that AT&T or Sprint or whomever can also provide some competition, because ultimately for someone like Mo, we don't want her in a position where she only has one choice of wireless internet provider that's low latency as well. So really, we even in these underserved areas, we got to make sure that 5G is available through multiple different paths, so we're not, in the same boat with a different medium as we are now with the cable and DSL providers.